What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here, back with another World of Warcraft video for the War Within. Now today we're talking about engineering and how to make gold with engineering in the upcoming War Within expansion. If you want to have access to even more gold making stuff, check out my gold making guide through the link down below, where I deep dive even more into every single profession, talk about how to make gold with crafting, farming, and even show you specific gold farms I've found on the beta so far in that guide. And the thing is, when you buy the guide, you can also get access to my Dragonflight Goldmaking Guide for free, and you can buy the guide for 50% off by using the code Solheim. It's a one-time purchase, which means that whenever the guide gets updated, you get those updates sent to you for free directly to your email. So right now, because you get the Dragonflight Goldmaking Guide with the War Within one, you're getting 2 guides for the price of 1, and that one is half price. So, once again, if you want to know more about gold making, everything that I know about gold making will be in that guide, and the Discord server you get access to when you buy the guide. So yeah, it's just a one-stop place to have everything you want to know about gold making in one place, and you directly support me at the same time. Trust me, it's going to be the place to be when it comes to gold making in the War Within. So check it out, the links will be down below. Now let's talk about engineering and how to make gold with engineering in the War Within. Now, engineering is typically not seen as the gold making profession, but in Dragonflight it was absolutely ridiculously good, and I'm here to tell you that the War Within is looking even better. Now, when it comes to the basics of engineering, a lot of things are roughly the same, but a couple of things are different as well. Now let's go through the same things. You're basically using other types of materials like ores, for example, to make crafting reagents that are then further used in engineering in different crafts. Now these are called parts. You can also use certain specialization points to perfect the craft of parts, which we'll get into further in this video, talking about exactly how to make gold and the different paths to take, where you have inventing, devices, and equipment, and you can pick and choose whatever you want. So you can focus on making gold through parts, where you are then focusing on crafting the highest quality parts to sell to other engineers that needs those high quality parts. You also have cogwheels. We have had these for quite a while. They are optional crafting reagents that can be sold directly on the auction house. Now we also have some equipment. We have geared for combat. In this case, you can make blue guns and sell on the auction house, level 80 blues with 558 item level at the max quality you can, and it only has a skill difficulty of 200, so you'll be able to guarantee this at the highest quality pretty early. You can also make goggles for other engineers, all ready for level 71 with 528 item level. You can also sell professional equipment. I only have 2 of them so far, and you can make something called a box of booms on a daily cooldown, which gives you, well, different kinds of explosives inside that box. Like for example, we have one in my inventory right here, the box of booms. Opening this one up, we will get a couple of different boxes or potions. Potion bombs. So we have potion bomb of recovery, potion bomb of power, and potion bomb of speed. And instead of talking about those from here, if we scroll down further, we can see them here. Explosives, potion bomb of power. Now these are basically bomb potions, where you can throw this bomb on your party members and give them a potion-like effect. For the potion bomb of power, for example, you throw a potion bomb which splashes up to 5 allies caught in the blast with a potion that increases their primary stat by 800 for 30 seconds, as well as enemies caught in the blast suffer 51,000 fire damage split between them. So it's both a potion and also a bomb at the same time, and they do require that type of potion. So you have tempered potion, right? You need 3 tempered potions, but you get 4 to 5 bombs back, and proccing multicraft you can get even more bombs back as well. Now these bombs will be used a lot in both raid situations and Mythic Cluster situations, because as a raider myself, I can use a potion and somebody else can throw their bomb at me at the same time, and those effects stack. Now you can also use them, so you use the potion first and then the potion bomb after. That's going to be up to your group. The thing is though, they have separate cooldowns, so you can use the potion, then you can also use the bomb. So you can basically double dip, meaning that engineers now have a direct way to make a lot of gold steady from selling consumables to people using for raids and Mythic Plus. So So you can think of this as making potions, because that's what you're doing. It's just a potion bomb, and you can specialize into crafting these at the highest quality you can, so quality 3, and then you can use multicraft to make even more of them to make more gold. Now, the highlight of engineering this expansion is the Crowd Pummeler 230, a brand new mount that you can make. So you have this one, it's a flying mount, and it's a BOE, like it's not soulbound or anything, so I can make this right now, trade it to you, and I get some gold, or I can put it on the auction house and sell it for gold as well. And this is made through an assortment of parts, and as you can see, all of these crafting reagents, they are also sellable, and you can find these whenever you're pilfering through parts by speccing into the right spec, which we'll get further into later. But as you can see, we have a bunch of devices that we have not learned, and when we go through them like this, you see discovery is through inventing, prototyping, and nodes. A lot of the engineering recipes that you will find, like a lot of the ones that we haven't learned so far, you will get them on an RNG basis through inventing. So you have inventing, for example, where you can sometimes learn new recipes, you can scour through scraps, or scour through scraps, there we go, disassemble inventing, and pilfering through parts. And whenever you're going through parts and going through scraps and inventing, you have a chance to get a new recipe. Now in this case, we can go through scouring through scrap and make some of that with a pile of rusted scrap. So we're just gonna scour through a couple of them right here, just to get some scraps back in this case. And we're not going to learn anything right now from that, but we're just like scouring to show you what you can get. So sometimes you get some handful of bolts. You can also start getting refurbished Tinker Plane Displacer, but for the most part you get trash. Now sometimes you get some piles back even though you're scouring through piles, and when it comes to learning new recipes, this is where that comes in. We just picked up twice now something called a unrecognizable prototype, and we also got some hastily scrambled or scrolled nodes. You can arrange 15 of these nodes into something comprehensible, aka usually a new recipe, so something new to craft. So you just want to scour through as much as you can and hope to get both this right here, the prototypes, and the notes as well. The Tinker modules you can also sell because they are not soulbound or anything. So yeah, you can just keep doing this, but every time you do it, you are scouring through 5 piles of scrap, and you're basically burning through gold. You're burning through gold here because in order to get to these piles of scrap, you also have to pile through parts, and going through parts, you're directly going through crafting materials. So you can go through bolts, but you can also go through, for example, chaos circuits, you can go through wirings, you can go through all of these things that you can make, which are basically parts. So you can use your ores to make parts, and then you can scour through those parts to then get some, well, let's just scour through some parts, and you can see exactly what you get. So when you scour through parts, you then get some piles of rusted scraps. For the most part, you will get 1, sometimes you will get 2, and sometimes you can proc even more than 2 as well. So every time you do this, you are burning gold, but you're getting piles of scrap back. You can then use that pile of scrap to learn brand new recipes, and you can also use it through inventions. Now, inventions requires 25 piles of scrap, and if we invent something right now, we can see that we get a lot more from that than scouring through scraps, which is why it's on a cooldown. It's also an epic right here, so you have a chance to learn how to make something new, and even if you don't, like, you get this prototype still. In this case, we learned nothing new directly, but we got a prototype and we got 3 nodes, and pretty much every time you do inventions, you will get a prototype and a node, but it has a 24-hour cooldown. I'm just going to reset that cooldown right now to do one more invention to show you a second craft as well, just to show you that you genuinely get a lot more often than you get through scouring through scraps, as you should, because instead of just using 5 piles, you are now using 25, and it has a cooldown. So once again, we got another prototype, and we got piles of scraps back. This is also one of the primary / only ways to skill up engineering past 60 skill. As you can see, I only have 2 ways to skill up right now, and they're both on a cooldown. So for example, inventions are on a 24-hour cooldown, and even the box of booms, that is also on a cooldown. So there we go, 24-hour cooldown there as well. I just wanted to show you that because skilling up engineering will take time and /or will be expensive. Like you will have to burn through gold to learn recipes by the scouring through scraps ability, and then you can also buy recipes directly on the auction house, or you can use honor points to make these. So for example, recipe unlearned, 7,500 honor points, you can then start learning the PvP crafted items, which you can also specialize into making at the highest quality you can. Either way, let's go back. When it comes to learning recipes, you now want to use something called a dissemble invention. In this case, we're going to go for this one right here, the unrecognizable prototype, and we're going to start disassembling those and try to learn something. In this case, we didn't get anything, but we got some notes. So we got some notes back right here, and we got some piles. If I can just if I turn off my web camera right now, you can see this chat as well to see exactly what we get. So from that one, we got 9 notes. That is almost an entire, brand new recipe from one invention, and we got 10 piles of scrap back. Going for the second one, doing another invention right here in disassembling, we now get 4 notes and 15 piles, so we get 15 piles back, and it cost us 25 piles to get this one from a daily craft, 7 notes, so you won't get a full recipe for every single time, but you will get pretty much half a recipe, like 9, 4, 7, and 8, and then back to 9 again, and 19 piles on the last one here. Now, when you combine these notes, that is when you will learn a new recipe. So in this case, rearranging notes into something comprehensible, we now picked this up. Study your notes to choose a new engineering schematic to learn. The selection of possible schematics increases as you specialize in engineering. So studying these notes, you will now have different ones to choose from. Now sometimes they're going to be the same, but usually they are different. So in this case, we can teach you the schematic for spring-loaded bismuth fabric cutters, or you can go for this one, the heart-seeking tinker, or you can go for this one. Now, when it comes to which one to choose from, you can actually go back to engineering and find the specializations or the brand new recipes and see if any of them will be good for skilling up, and then choose that one. In this case, pretty much none of them are good for skilling up, so just choose whichever one you want, and you just keep doing this until you have all the recipes you can have. So at this point, we have spent about 10 minutes talking about engineering overall, but it is a pretty complicated profession to get into. And when you start out, it will look very boring because you will barely have any recipes, and you will have to keep doing inventions to get those recipes, and the more recipes you have, the more gold you will make. Now let's start talking about specialization points and where to spend them and why, so we can talk more about that as well, and give you some examples of exactly what I'm going to do. Let's start out with inventing. For inventing, you specialize in the sciences of destructive construction to improve your ability to invent new gadgets and your technique with engineering in general. So for the first one, you get +1 skill towards all engineering craft. That is pretty important to note, because that means that no matter which specialization you want to go for, this is a good secondary to have. Like, even if you're crafting equipment, you still want to go for this one to get +1 skill when crafting equipment. And if you're crafting parts, you also want to have this one to get more skill in crafting parts. Even if you're doing device crafting devices, you still want to have this one to get more skill points. Now, on the right side, you then have the scrapper. Gain +3 resourcefulness toward all engineering craft per point spent. So once again, resourcefulness will just help you save the cost of crafting by giving you materials back. So even if you're going for engineered equipment or device crafting, you still want to have scrapper as well to get resourcefulness. And this one is pretty important because you may now sometimes find lost engineering toys from the Dragon Isles when you scour through scraps. Now, I do believe that's going to be updated to Castle Gar instead of Dragon Isles for the War Within. But right now in the beta it's telling you Dragon Isles, but you basically get more stuff back from scour through scraps. Over here, the maximum scrap yield from most sources is increased by 1, over here another 1 +1 increase, and at the final one, you may now sometimes find certain refurbished tinkers from the Dragon Isles when you scour through scraps. Once again, that's supposed to be Castle Gar, not Dragon Isles, because we picked up some Castle Gar tinkers when scouring earlier. These Tinkers have been reconfigured with Algari circuitry to be compatible with modern equipment. So, on the left side on the other hand, you have Ingenuity, which is basically just a way to get concentration back whenever you spend concentration on any craft. Now, going halfway through here, you also get this one. Whenever you invent, gain Inventor's Guile, whatever, which increases the multicraft resourcefulness and ingenuity by 115 for 12 hours. This one is pretty important because you want to have this no matter what you play, and that also means that before you start doing a crafting session on your engineer, you want to go for an invention. You want to use the invent ability even if you have all the recipes you can because of that buff, and then you want to craft as much as you can for those 12 hours to utilize that buff completely. So maybe instead of crafting every single day, like if you have all the recipes, you're literally just burning gold on the invention ability, min-max the use of that buff, because once again that buff is absolutely insane. 150 resourcefulness and the multicraft by itself should be about 10% multicraft and 10% resourcefulness, maybe closer to 7, so between 7 and 10%, and then ingenuity, if you're using concentration, that is also insane. Now, going down the middle here, you can also focus on parts, gaining +1 skill specifically when creating parts, and then after that you will then go down to either overclocked cogwheels, you can go down to serrated cogwheels, or adjustable cogwheels, or even impeccable cogwheels, basically specializing into a certain part of cogwheel to gain more skill in those crafts as well. Now, this one is important. The parts one is important. First of all, if you're crafting parts, you want to go here, but also this. When you pilfer through parts, you now have a chance to recover components used to craft the Crowd Pummeler 230. A lot of those materials can be bought from vendors, and people have been talking about exactly how to get them. This has been a question for the last couple of weeks on the beta as well, like how expensive will this mount be to craft? Well, now when you pilfer through parts, you can start finding all of these recipes, so if you find the most expensive ones, you save a lot of gold. That being said, pilfering through parts, you're also burning gold, so you have to do some mathematical equations there to see if it's actually worth doing when it comes to that. But scouring through parts, you also get a lot more stuff back. So yeah, this was just going to help you make even more gold and give you more advantages through pilfering. So once again, parts, whenever you pilfer through parts, you can get some components back used in crafting that mount. Over here as well allows you to use the finishing reagent, and at the end, crafting parts can now sometimes result in spare scrap. You never know when it might come in handy. This is going to be a really good specialization to go for, and you also gain +10 skill right here when crafting parts, and +60 multicraft when crafting parts. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the specialization later, because this is going to be the one that I'm using on my engineer for goldmaking. Going over to devices now, you will specialize in the complexities of your own devices to use them with minimal risk to your own well-being, and maximum risk to the well-being of your foes. If you have engineering on your main, for example, this is going to be really good to go for, because you will just min-max the ability of using devices. Going through the first one, you get +1 skill to gadgets, gizmos, devices, and other miscellaneous creations per point spent, and going through some stuff, you will now often recover scrap when using your devices. So the more you use your devices, the more scrap you get back, and the more you go through this, the more scrap you will start getting back. And you also increase the yield of resourcefulness by 10% for gadgets, gizmos, and devices, and other miscellaneous craft, and you get more skill points. So this will help you make better scraps, devices, save gold while making devices, and make more devices. So you make better, you save more, and you make more. And then you can also start getting gold back from getting scrap when using your devices as well. So the more you use them, the better. Now after that, you can also go to Tinkers or Explosives. So going to Tinkers first, you can then further specialize on Tinkers. Using Tinkers has a chance to grant scrap. So once again, you get scrap back from using your Tinkers, which makes it really good to have on a character you will play a lot. You now think twice before using your tinkers, increasing their success chance by 3%, gaining multi-craft so you craft more and craft better, and over here as well, plus 8 skill. You now glance at your tinker control panels instead of pressing random buttons, increasing success chance by 5% more, and at the end here you now listen for blah blah blah, gaining 7% increased success chance, and your level of caution is now equivalent to the benefits provided by the recalibrated safety switch component, and no longer need to depend on it for optimal success chance. So basically you have a way bigger success chance when doing tinkers. On the left side you have explosives, where using explosives now has a chance to grant scraps, and you will also get skill, multi-craft, and skill when crafting explosives, crafting more explosives and better explosives as well. Over here, using a suspicious technique, you have a chance to not consume a potion bomb when throwing them. Once again, absolute BIS whenever you're using explosions, and at the end here, learn to craft a box of bombs, which allows you to create a box full of random explosives once per day. Now, this one is important. Having a chance not to consume a potion bomb when throwing them. As I just talked about, the potion bombs will be absolutely really good, both for personal use and also for selling, so being able to make these at a higher quality and a higher quantity is going to be really good for gold making, but also really good for personal use, so that's just a really good talent tree to go for, especially, once again, if you have engineering on your main, this one is going to be really good. Now, going over to the final specialization tree that I don't have any points spent in yet, you can focus on engineered equipment, and even though I haven't learned this yet myself, don't think that makes this bad. In reality, this is a really good specialization tree to go for, and you will then get plus skill when crafting equipment of all sorts. That means personal equipment, combat equipment, and also profession equipment. You can then choose to further specialize into either calibrated chaos whenever you're crafting guns and bracers, and then you can focus even more on either guns or bracers to increase your skill when crafting those. Or you can go through inventor's necessities to focus on goggles and the professional equipment, and then you can choose to either go into goggles or professional gear. Now, for me, for gold making specifically, profession gear, I'm just gonna say it, is really good. You will learn a lot of brand new recipes and make them at a higher quality here, and going down to professional equipment, we have so many good professional equipment for engineers to make. For example, you have the spring-loaded Accurite fabric cutters. Everyone with tailoring will want to have this, and they will look for the best engineer to make these at the highest quality that they can, and guarantee the best stats on this one as well. So this is a tailoring tool, not an accessory. It's going to be really good, and if you know about gold making in the War Within and how it was in Dragonflight, people are loading up tailors for alt armies. Like when it comes to cooldown crafting, tailoring is really good, and everyone wants to have this on their tailoring alt army. So if you don't have engineering yourself and you have a lot of tailors, you will be looking for a tailor specialized into crafting these, and I'm just gonna say it, this is gonna be really good to make gold. When you're able to make this tool, tailoring tool, at the highest quality you can, like as you can see, it's 490 recipe difficulty to get the highest rank. You will want to make the highest rank, and then you also want to have additional skill points past that as well to be able to use finishing reagents. Now, that being said, we have something called concentration in the War Within, so the second I can make quality 4, I can then use my concentration to force it up to quality 5. Now, the more skill points I'm lacking, the more concentration I have to spend. Like right now, I am this far away. I am lacking, let's just see, we need 392. So we are lacking about 60 skill points to be able to guarantee this at quality 4, but I can spend 360 concentration, and now suddenly we guarantee this at quality 4. So getting to quality 4 and then using concentration to get quality 5, really good for gold making. Consider doing this if you have engineering. consider going down the path of professional equipment. You also have, for example, this one. This is a mining accessory with finesse and plus 11 Algar mining skill, and you get more skill the higher quality you make. Now over here you have this one as well. This is a jewel crafting tool, so jewel crafting really good for gold making, and everyone with jewel crafting will be looking for somebody with engineering to make this tool for them. We also have this one, the miner's headgear, another mining accessory. We have this one right here, engineering tool you can make for yourself, or even other engineers as well. Like for example, on my engineer I will be going for inventing. I will need somebody with equipment to make me that tool, because I can't make it myself. So I'm going to be looking for somebody to make this tool for me, get the recipe for it, and then also guarantee it at the highest quality they can. We have the Accurate Fishing Friend, that's a fishing tool, and we have the Brainweave Projector. That is another engineering tool or engineering accessory that you can then make for yourself or other engineers as well. Now, it is worth noting when it comes to professional equipment, some of these will be directly learned whenever you spec into professional equipment. So if I can just find one that you can learn whenever you spec into it. For example, this, the Accurate Fueled Camouflage, that is the engineering tool. You will get that whenever you have engineered equipment with 40 knowledge points in. You will then learn that recipe. Pretty much all the other ones though, they come from tinkering, but you need to have, there's a requirement here, specialization professional gear. So you need to go to specialization, engineered equipment, then go to a talent tree, and you need to go to profession gear. So you need to have learned this, and you can now learn advanced professional equipment from studying scribbled notes. Those are the notes we just talked about, like right here, for example, the comprehensible organized ideas, which come from these notes right here, the hastily scrawled notes, which you get from, for example, once again, the daily invention, scouring through scraps or pilfering through parts. You can then get those notes, and when you have that knowledge, like when you have spec'd into this tree and gone down the professional gear, you can now start getting those recipes from those notes as well. And you will want to do that to get all of them, to be able to make all of them and make the most gold that you can. It is going to be a really good way to make gold. That being said, these tools and these professional equipments, they are soulbound, so you will be making gold from crafting orders, both public, patron, and personal. Now, going back to my main engineer and how I will use it for gold making myself, I'm going to focus on the invention part here, and I'm going to focus on crafting parts. So for me, I'm going to go for 40 points spent into inventions, then 40 points spent into parts, and then going to go for scrapper, and then finally ingenuity, to be able to make parts at the highest quality that I can, and make gold from parts. That means that I'm going to be selling parts to other engineers that are not spec'd into the same. For example, if you are spec'd into devices or engineered equipment, you probably want to buy parts from somebody spec'd into making parts, as I can then make better parts, more parts, and I will save more gold while making parts, because the knowledge points that I'm going to be putting in will give me resourcefulness, multicraft, skill points, and even ingenuity when making parts, meaning that I can make better, for example, entropy enhancers. I can make them better. I can proc more multicraft from them. I can also save more gold while making them through resourcefulness, and therefore I'm basically guaranteed to make a profit. And in Dragonflight, focusing on parts made so much gold, it is ridiculous. Now, I might also make a second engineer and focus on professional equipment, but I definitely want to have one focused on parts, and the reasoning why is that when it comes to professional equipment, you need to be online. You want to have that on a character you're actively playing, or you want to actively monitor crafting orders, because the only way to make gold from this will be, well, not the only way, but the main way will be to make the best professional equipment for other people, and they're all bound when equipped, which does mean you directly have to make them through crafting orders. That being said, when it comes to parts, I can log on, I can craft for an hour, send everything to my bank, and just post them on the auction house, and make absolute bank, which means I don't have to scout crafting orders, I don't have to advertise anything, I just craft, put them on the auction house, sell, make gold. It is very easy, very scalable, and it's how I prefer doing things. Now, this turned out to be a pretty long video. I think it is the longest one out of my profession video cover series when it comes to gold making with professions in the War Within, but engineering is pretty much a complicated but also easy profession at the same time, and I wanted to make sure that I covered pretty much everything. One more thing to focus on here is that you can make tools and accessories with the skills or with the stats that you want. If you're focusing on parts like me, the best one to focus on will probably be multicraft to proc more procs whenever you're crafting. So sometimes whenever I'm making entropy enhancers, I can make more of them instead of just making one. So multicraft for parts if you're going down the same route as me, but if you're going for profession equipment, multicraft will not help you out at all. You rather want to focus on either skill points, resourcefulness, or ingenuity, like any one of those. If you're lacking, if you want to spend concentration, for example, and make gold from that, ingenuity might be the one to go for, because that gives you concentration back whenever you get a ingenious breakthrough whenever you're crafting. So yeah, focus on whichever stat you want to have and get those tools as soon as possible. Either way, that's a half an hour of me talking about engineering, so hopefully I was able to teach you something about engineering in the War Within, and hopefully you're able to use this profession to make a bunch of gold in the next expansion. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I will see you again in the next video very soon.